Welcome to our in-depth exploration of Chinua Achebe's Things Fall Apart, a novel that has become a cornerstone of African literature and a staple for AS and A-level students worldwide. In this video, we'll guide you through the historical context, narrative structure, and critical perspectives that make this work so enduring and significant. Whether you're preparing for exams or seeking a deeper appreciation of Achebe's artistry, this guide will equip you with the analytical tools to understand not just the plot and characters, but also the profound themes and literary innovations that define the novel. Let's begin our journey into the world of Umuofia and the legacy of Achebe's storytelling. Truly appreciate Things Fall Apart. It's essential to understand the historical and literary context in which Achebe wrote. Published in 1958, just 2 years before Nigeria's independence, the novel emerged at a time when African voices were largely absent from global literature. Achebe's work challenged centuries of Western narratives that depicted Africa as uncivilized or voiceless. By situating his story within the rich traditions and philosophies of the Igbo people, Achebe not only reclaimed African history, but also established a new literary tradition that resonated worldwide. This context is crucial for understanding the novel's purpose and impact. For centuries, European writers constructed myths about Africa, often portraying it as the opposite of Europe, mysterious, dangerous, and lacking civilization. These stereotypes, identified by scholars like Hammond and Jablow, included the beastly savage and the noble savage, as well as spatial myths like the white man's grave. Such images justified colonial domination and silenced authentic African voices. Achebe's novel directly confronts these myths, offering a narrative from within and asserting the complexity and dignity of African societies long before colonial contact. Achebe's engagement with colonial literature is most famously seen in his critique of Joseph Conrad's Heart of Darkness. In his essay, An Image of Africa, Achebe accused Conrad of denying Africans their humanity and individuality, reducing them to mere background figures. Achebe's response was not just academic, it was creative. By writing Things Fall Apart, he sought to restore voice, history, and complexity to African characters and societies. This act of literary reclamation remains a foundational moment in post-colonial criticism and continues to influence how we read both African and Western texts. Achebe believed that art should serve a social purpose, especially for writers in post-colonial societies. He rejected the idea of art for art's sake, insisting that literature must inform and educate. For Achebe, this meant two things: teaching Western readers about the richness of African civilizations and restoring pride and knowledge to African readers about their own heritage. His novels, therefore, are not just stories. They are acts of cultural restoration and dialogue, challenging imposed narratives and encouraging mutual understanding between cultures. Structure of Things Fall Apart is meticulously crafted, divided into 3 parts that mirror the rise and fall of both Okonkwo and his society. The novel's characters are equally complex. Okonkwo, the tragic protagonist, is driven by fear of failure and a rigid sense of masculinity. His relationships with his father Anoka, his son Enwoy, his daughter Ezenma, and his friend Oberika reflect broader themes of tradition, change, and generational conflict. Each character embodies different responses to the pressures of colonialism and cultural transformation, making the novel a rich study in both individual and communal dynamics. At its core, Things Fall Apart explores the collision between tradition and change, the complexities of masculinity and femininity, and the devastating impact of colonialism. The novel refuses to present these conflicts as simple binaries. Instead, Achebe shows a society with both strengths and flaws, and individuals who struggle to adapt as their world changes. The breakdown of father-son relationships, the tension between masculine and feminine principles, and the erosion of communal bonds all serve as metaphors for the larger cultural collapse. Achebe's nuanced portrayal invites readers to reflect on the costs of inflexibility and the challenges of cultural encounter. Achebe's narrative style is deeply influenced by Igbo oral tradition. He weaves proverbs, folktales, and a communal narrative voice throughout the novel, giving the text a unique rhythm and authenticity. Proverbs, described as the palmo with which words are eaten, are especially significant. They convey wisdom, reinforce social norms, and mark the health of the community. As colonial influence grows, these oral elements fade, symbolizing the erosion of cultural identity. Achebe's use of storytelling within the story not only preserves Igbo traditions, but also challenges the assumption that African societies lacked literary sophistication. Things Fall Apart is often read as a tragedy, not only of Okonkwo but of an entire culture. Okonkwo's downfall follows the pattern of a classical tragic hero, but Achebe expands the tragedy to encompass the collapse of Igbo society under colonial pressure. The novel's ending, with Okonkwo's suicide and the reduction of his story to a mere paragraph in a colonial official's book, underscores the silencing and erasure brought by imperialism. Yet Achebe's work endures because it restores complexity, voice, and humanity to those who were marginalized. For students and readers alike, the novel remains a powerful meditation on history, identity, and the consequences of cultural encounter.